So this video is all about tarot cards and possible pregnancies. My name's Maddie Elruna. I am a full-time tarot professional, also a rune expert and a Nordic shaman. And delighted to say I'm also a published author. So using the tarot cards to predict pregnancy is something we need to be really cautious about. I do urge you to consider the emotional safety of yourself or whoever you're reading for. This is more to look at which cards could represent pregnancy rather than to go into the ins and outs of safeguarding the querent. Probably the one people will most often think about is the Empress. But honestly, I have a whole load of cards here that I am going to talk to you about why they could mean pregnancy. And I mean a lot. And I would even go so far as to say, depending upon the question and the circumstance, almost any card could indicate pregnancy, though some of them are going to be a stretch, of course. So the first thing you need to consider is the question, because each of these cards has so many different meanings. We need to make sure that we've got a clear question. Whether you are asking whether somebody is pregnant, could be pregnant, or whether pregnancy is in fact viable or possible. So that's the first part of reading for pregnancy, is to actually define the question. Some cards in the first group I think are probably quite obvious. The Empress can represent the mother herself, the actual physical act of bearing a child. The World can represent successful completion, and although it very often represents the birthing of a new project or a new stage in our life, it can represent the birthing of a baby. The Ten of Cups, lots of people, myself included, imagine that the woman here actually has her hand on a pregnant belly. So this can represent, on its own, it wouldn't be enough. But if the question was on point and the other cards supported it, I've definitely seen the Ten of Cups represent pregnancy. For me, the High Priestess with her links to Persephone with the pomegranates in the background, and of course with Hell with the black and the white here, the duality. To me, she represents the womb. So if you have asked about pregnancy, this can represent having a baby in the womb. But fear not, if you've asked about intuition or spiritual development, then it's going to be tuning into those meanings. My number one card for a baby is the Fool. The Fool is an unincarnated spirit. It is a spirit without a body. We have the white rose here, which we also see on death. We have the white sun. To me, this represents the soul of the baby before they are connected to the physical form. So this, if somebody has asked me, am I pregnant? Could I be pregnant? Is pregnancy on the cards? This is one of the key cards I'm going to be looking for. And like the Empress, the Queen of Pentacles, of course, can represent being a mother. So those, I think, are probably some of my sort of core cards. And in a reading, I may well do a 9-card reading for this and also look at the card at the bottom of the pack. So I'm looking for a positive narrative between the cards to suggest there is a baby. I would never do a yes/no 1-card reading for this. Not sure where to go next. Let's go through this pile. So I think classically any of the pages can represent pregnancy. Again, the question would need to be appropriate, and there would need to be other cards to support this. But as they can represent children and young people, there is a sense that a page can represent a pregnancy. And in a similar vein, the Six of Cups, again, if the question's right and the other cards are right, then the Six of Cups can represent childhood. And just as I would suggest the Queen of Pentacles can be mother, I would link the Queen of Cups here very much to the High Priestess, when we could say that the cup here represents the womb, and this idea of something being born of the womb. Biologically speaking, we need a male and a female to make a baby. So just as the Empress can represent the mother, the Emperor can represent a father. So particularly if you get the two together, I mean, rare to get such an iconic spread, but something like that literally the mother and the father, the man and the woman coming together with the soul between them would be an incredibly on-point reading. I would argue, I seem to have lost my Ace of Swords. I've obviously oh, there we are. I knew I'd got it out somewhere. Any of the aces can represent a birth. What I would generally be looking for is, I would say the Ace of Pentacles is an incredibly positive indication of pregnancy. The Ace of Cups suggests the potential. The Ace of Wands can suggest conception. But if we had a pairing of a masculine ace and a feminine ace, then that would be a really positive sign. I've definitely seen the sun because of the child again. If there are other cards there to indicate the pregnancy, then I've seen that represent pregnancy and birth. Cards that perhaps are a little bit more unusual. The Tower. The Tower can represent conception. We have a phallic symbol here. We have the divine seed. We have the hand of God. I have seen particularly the Tower when it's connected with the High Priestess. I have seen that represent the conception of a baby. Conception is followed through with the idea of, particularly with the cards, the Two of Cups and the Lovers. Both of these have this coming together of a masculine and a feminine, and out of the two, a third is created. Now, we could think of that here as the lion-headed sort of angelic symbol here, or the mountain that is growing between Adam and Eve here. So both of these cards can refer to conception. The duality that it takes between, the right balance between man and woman, temperance, it's a bit of a stretch, and I definitely need to see other cards that were more on point, but I've seen temperance figure highly in pregnancy readings as that sort of quintessential magical extra that none of us fully understand. The magic happens, if you like. The Magician I would link with conception. I do link it with conception. This idea that you have everything you need. You're just waiting, if you like, for the quickening. And again, the idea that we have the Magician as the conception, and then the second card is the High Priestess, which is the baby in the womb. And then the third card, of course, is going to be the actual birth and the caring for the young child. So to me, all three of these can indicate different stages in the pregnancy journey. The Five of Pentacles, I link this rather than pregnancy, I link this to the birth. And my understanding is that older names of this card link to sort of labour, to travail, to birth something through hard work. So I would link this more to the actual process of labour. And we have the sort of the sixth pentacle peeking out here, the idea of birthing something through hard work. I know there are women out there that breathe their babies out, but my experience of labour is it was hard work. Worthwhile, but hard work. And a similar feel for this, again, Had all different piles out. I knew I'd get confused at some point. Again, it would need the right question and the right cards around it. The Four of Swords, because it can represent recuperation, and the body does need time to repair after labour. So I have seen the Four of Swords as meaning, the recuperation following a birth. And if any of the aces can represent a birth, then arguably the Four of Cups with the divine ace right here. And there are several other cards where we could see a hidden ace, for example, in fact, right here. But these are the two that stick out to me, because this is the Ace of Cups, the divine womb being filled, if you like, and with the Ace of Pentacles down here, the beginning of something new that is a physical birthing. Again, I would need to see other cards and a clear question, but to me that both of these would be in alignment. And I think that's what I want you to think about with babies, pregnancies and tarot. I do not believe the future's fixed. I don't think it's okay to be telling somebody, I 100% see a baby for you, even if you really, really do. What we're looking for is how aligned is the narrative of these cards with the birth of a baby. Other cards that could sort of register a truth, the Four of Wands and the Three of Cups to me can be celebration, and for most people having a baby is a point of celebration. Arguably it's going to depend on the circumstances. Very similar to that is the Nine of Cups and the Star, which I think of as wish cards. So if somebody says they are wanting a child, if somebody is keen for a child, or even if somebody is asking about motherhood or fatherhood and isn't sure whether they want a child, these would be cards suggesting that yes, a child is possible and it would be celebrated and joyful. Something that has cropped up in pregnancy readings is the Eight of Wands. This, again, if it was in alignment with the rest of the reading, would suggest that somebody was already pregnant, because I often think with the Eight of Wands, there's this feeling of it's out of your hands now. So this would suggest that somebody could already be pregnant. So there are a lot of cards. As I've already said, arguably any tarot card with the right question and the right cards around it could be a positive meaning. Even a card like Death can represent the end of one life and the beginning of another, the beginning of the life as being a parent. My sort of most tested card to represent a birth would be the Fool. If a client is asking about pregnancy and birth, I'm really cautious to make it clear that I am not a medical expert. I am a complementary therapist. I have definitely had accuracy with tarot readings and pregnancies in the past. Personally, I don't normally go down the sort of the gender route, but you could imply that male or female cards could represent the gender. The Two of Pentacles, which I haven't pulled out of my deck, but actually I have seen the Two of Pentacles mean twins a few times, which can be quite funny. But what I would always be saying is I'm reading the cards for guidance. With any medical reading, and pregnancy is a medical condition, we have to be advising our clients to see their medical health care professional. So if you're reading for pregnancy, keep it light, keep it as an overall feel. Actually, the most likely time that I will bring up pregnancy is not when someone's asked, but it's when they've asked perhaps about a holiday or a career or a house move, and I see cards that could indicate a baby, then I will often say to people, if you are not looking to get pregnant, I suggest that you are very careful right now. And I have said that several times now, many times, in fact, both to men and women. So definitely avoid yes/no questions. This is a big issue. Falling pregnant, whether you're the male part or the female part, is life-changing. Whatever you decide to do with it, wherever that journey goes, it's life-changing. It deserves more than a yes/no question. It deserves, at the least, I would say, a 9-card spread. And that gives you a chance to find the narrative between the cards. If you have any questions about this, if there's a card that you expected to see and I haven't shared, or a card that you still disagree with me about, put it in the comments. I'm really happy to share my thoughts, because the more that we share our thoughts, the more that we all learn. It would be great if you haven't already subscribed. If you subscribe, it makes a real difference to my channel. I am not doing this to raise income. This is my way of giving back to the community. That's why it's all free, because I have to charge for my readings and my healings. I have bills to pay like the rest of us. But I have gained so much from the tarot community that this is my small way of giving back. So do like, subscribe, comment. They all really help my algorithms. And if you're looking to work with me as a tarot reader or a tarot mentor, which is the part of my life that pays the bills, head to my website and let's see how we could work together.